All right. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hey, it's me. We're here today. It's exciting. We have some people from across the country. It's always fun to get some people who've come from the Lehigh Valley and gone out. So today we are here with co-producers Tyler, Stoudt, and Wyatt Moore. They're Whitehall High School grads, and we're going to talk about a new film series that they've released, but they're still currently working on. So here we go. Wyatt and Tyler. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hi everybody.
Thanks for taking some time. Before we get started, let's kind of do an introduction and find like where you guys are in the world, because I thought you were both in LA, but it turns out that we're in all, I guess we're like traversing the country today.
Yep.
So what
Getting
you're
closer
in,
and closer to the west as you go.
Yep.
Right. So where are you at in the world tonight?
I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Which is unexpected. And Tyler,
Yes.
You're out in LA, correct?
Correct. Sherman Oaks, California.
It's awesome. And we're going to watch the trailer first. Well, in a second here, but I do want to kind of go into how you guys met. You had mentioned when we were talking through email that it was at Whitehall High School. So how did you initially meet? Was it like hanging out in a mattress store? Were you at the Lehigh Valley Mall? Like what do you do at Whitehall when you're in middle school and high school?
Oh, you just named two of them right there. Like,
yeah. Two of the big ones.
I remember exactly how I met Tyler. I had recently moved to the area. I think it was probably my junior year of high school. Yeah. And
my sophomore year.
Yep. And I didn't know anybody, literally nobody. And as I met a few people like in class and on the bus and whatnot. And Tyler was just sitting at the lunch table, the people that I met, and we hit it off like right away.
Mm-hmm.
It was like instant.
I think that weekend was the first time we hung out, and it was like a sleepover. And he bought me Wendy's. And later on that week, I was helping you move or something, and we were at a mattress store.
Yeah.
Yeah, for people who don't get the joke, like if you're in Whitehall on MacArthur Road, there's like 37 mattress stores, and
they're always closing all the time. They never actually close, but they have the sign.
You can make fun of them, but they're apparently doing well enough to stay open. So
I don't know. I've always wondered. Every time I drive by, there's at least a few of them that say going out of business, and they've been going out of business for like 15 years.
Yeah,
well, I think the going out of business sale probably revitalizes the.
It's a vicious cycle. Yeah.
So you started the film club in Whitehall High School. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what did that entail? Is it something that clearly you started it, so there wasn't anything like that in the previously, and people were interested in it?
Yeah, people were interested in it more than we had anticipated, really. But I mentioned I moved in the middle of high school. Where I was going to high school before was in California, and I had taken a film program, and I was in love with it. And then when we moved to Whitehall, they do have, or they even at the time they had like a broadcasting program where they would do like a school TV show every morning, the WZYR News. Oh yeah,
Sure.
And we both ended up becoming producers and directors on the show. But we just wanted something that we could, because YouTube at the time was like just taking off. Like
so, like tell me like what? Okay, yeah. So like 10 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like 2010 or 11, and YouTube is just starting to get like we love like Freddie W and Rocket Jump Studios and stuff like that, where people who either have enough film knowledge or just have an enthusiasm for it could use your phone or digital equipment you can get at Best Buy to make professional looking stuff. That amazed us, so we wanted to try it, and we started. We approached the administration at school and just said, how could we do something like this and make it an official school thing to maybe get resources for it and get other people involved. And they said, just get a petition signed and that'll be fine. And we only needed 15. And at first it was maybe only 15 members or 15 or 20.
I think it was exactly, we stopped right at 15 just to get it done.
We have enough.
And
Nobody else is allowed to learn about film here.
Yeah.
And then after so we did 1 year of it, and I guess people at first were like, what the hell is that? Who cares? There's already something like that, so whatever. And then we did a film festival at the end of the year with all the work we had been doing, and we were all teaching each other and ourselves and like learning through YouTube videos and stuff. And the next year we had something like 80 members in the club. The next year, like we were supposed to go in the initial like room that we normally met in. And we went to go to the first meeting on like the first week of school. I remember I went to the room and I was alone in there. And Tyler and a few other people had to come and get me. They're like, hey, they moved us to the cafeteria because we had too many people. And that blew my mind.
Because that's right when, iPhones and that kind of technology was coming to the point where you could make videos on those devices, and being able to, that had to change a lot of what you guys were able to do if you were interested in it. So what were some of the earliest videos that you did?
Well, I remember our first feature we shot on these little like 720p camcorder things with the camera audio from those camcorders to record everything. Just pointed at
that's all we had
and be done. That's all we had.
It's like what your parents bought to take you on vacation, and that was
the
what
little
we had.
The viewfinder flips out, and you're
that takes skill to like use something like that and make something out of it that people will actually watch and not be like, yeah, this is great.
There may have been a little bit of that with the first one.
There was probably a little bit more than we want to admit. Yeah.
No, I mean, so that goes well enough. I mean, how, you guys are then super interested. What happens when you graduate? Did you both have aspirations to continue this type of work? So it wasn't just like, hey, we started a film club, cool hobby. Like, what did you guys individually do upon graduation?
I went to college, Emerson College in Boston to study film, and Wyatt went to Pittsburgh.
Yep, I went to Point Park University in Pittsburgh, and we both, because of the film club and what we ended up doing, because we talked about the first film festival, and then the second one when we had a bigger club with more resources and whatnot, more people were interested. That helped us both get scholarships to go to those schools, which was incredible. Awesome. Like, wouldn't have been able to go to that school without like the work that was done in the film club. Would have been impossible.
I mean, you're not very close to each other in Pittsburgh, Boston. Like, do you stay in touch? Like, how do you continue to do that? Are you collaborating while you're?
Funny enough, we were actually. Yeah, we he flew. I didn't even think about this until you asked the question. But he flew to Pittsburgh to be a part of my like senior thesis film, and I flew to Boston to be a part of his. And it was just like so natural the way that we talked about it that I didn't realize that. Yeah, we both did that for one another.
Yeah. We went, like, once we graduated, we were pretty inseparable in high school, and then we graduated, and I think we were both enjoying the ability to sort of have a go in new environments. We'd still talk like every other day, but we didn't actually hang out again in person until our sophomore years of college. When we started
both
writing,
like, look what I learned.
The first night we were hanging out again, it was mostly just laptop screens and
look at this thing projects. I made and this thing I made. And I remember you came down for just a visit the first time, and I had a project that was due for a directing class in like a couple days, and it was the goal was to make a 1-minute video of something like the character has to have a change, and you're supposed to direct them into showing that they had some kind of change or something.
Okay.
And Tyler was there for the weekend. I was like, yeah, let's just do it. And we shot a thing where he died and he became a ghost or something like that. It was actually a pretty funny clip now that I remember. But yeah, it's funny.
Then we started. That was when the little seeds of our next feature film, which we don't need to talk too much about, but.
People only remember your successes.
You work on. Well, I mean, you can't if everything works, that's suspicious. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happened? Did you have some projects along the way that maybe didn't go as planned?
Always.
Yeah. We did another feature film in the middle there. My junior year of college. Or our junior year, sorry.
Is that like independent? Are you doing it also for credit, or is it kind of like in addition?
That was a totally independent thing. It was like we both had the summer. I mean, we were both working still. I mean, I worked all full time all through college, and somehow was able to squeeze in shooting that feature over the summer of our between junior and senior year. And we just wanted to swing for the fences. We wanted our big one, but it just, I will say that what we didn't learn in school and from classes. That movie 100% taught us everything else. And that came like you go ahead.
Well, then, like Wyatt said, he came out to Boston our senior year to help me wrap up my senior thesis. So it was kind of intermittent, but we never stopped working together
for sure
all through college.
And we haven't even talked about what we're even going to 10 minutes of it. But like, what are some of your when you're making these films, like what type of films are you guys then creating? Have you tried different types, like horror movies? I know this is a lot of science fiction comedy.
Yeah.
Like, did you do any like rom-coms? I don't know. Do you cut your teeth on everything, or
I will say that we definitely cut our teeth on a lot of different stuff. But for the most part, so like the feature film that we made in high school, and like my senior year at Whitehall, it was a rom-com that I directed that we basically shot, like, I would say we only had like 2.5 hours a day to shoot on film club days, which was maybe twice a week. So we shot a feature over the course of 8 months, shooting for like 4 hours a week, basically. And we just wrote the story to accommodate the time shift and all that. It worked. And a lot of stuff, at least for me, that I worked on was either rom-com, comedy, or like maybe dramedy based. And
how do you keep the continuity doing that? Like, everybody's hairstyles are changing. You're like,
well,
you try your best. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
I learned.
Somebody's got a mustache and then they don't.
With the took the Robert Rodriguez approach. You write a story for what you already and only have access to. So we knew we had a school and teenagers, and so what we did is we wrote a story that took place over the course of a school year. So people were getting haircuts and their hair was growing, and it just made sense because it was being told sort of in real time, I guess. So that's how that works.
Shot in chronological order, which is something you don't normally do.
Yeah. But that's actually a great transition because that was the Inventor was our first foray into anything genre at all. And we really did it just for the hell of it, because we had done all these other things. And when you're in a film school, if anyone who's listening has gone to film school knows this, that's a lot of like really deep dramas and really intense thought pieces and whatnot. And I was just burned out from that.
Same. Yeah.
So,
but is it like you need to absorb those like core type films and
their core memories,
disciplines, so that you can never have to do them again? Like
that's a great way to put it. So like when we went to do the Inventor, it was basically just, all right, all bets are off. We're just going to mess around. And I guess I find that I do my best work when we get into that mode, but that's just me.
Yeah. Film school was very much like, you have to go through all the history books and all the stuff that your history teachers tell you are the important movies to learn what kind of movies you want to make. And that sort of, when we both graduated, we're both pretty tired of being told that the ones that we wanted to make weren't the ones that we should want to make. So the Inventor kind of came about because we wanted to just work together on something and have fun while we were doing it.
And not be worried about, what's my professor going to think? It's like there's the peanut gallery in your head whenever you're shooting something.
Right.
And one teacher's telling you that the camera's too high. The other teacher over here is telling you that it's not exposed enough. And you're just like, I just want to shut you all up for one project. And that was the Inventor. We just went for it. Yeah.
Well, that's great. It was then kind of, we're going to watch the trailer here, but set me up. How then did this come about? What was the initial thought process? Did you wake up in the middle of the night and jot it down? Like, how did the genesis of it?
So Tyler and I had both recently moved to Los Angeles, him a couple months ahead of me, or like a year ahead of me or something like that. As soon as I got out there, I was ready. I was like, I want to work on something. Like I said, just because I just graduated from college, I'm like, I just want to get something down. So I was writing short films that I wanted to do, and I wrote a couple of them. And one of them we were actually able to incorporate into season 2 as an episode, which was pretty cool. Okay. But I wrote The Inventor as a short film just to shoot for fun. And then Tyler actually called me and said, hey, we might be coming into a little bit of like a budget to do some web-based content. And Tyler could probably talk about that, where that came about. Yeah.
When we got out here, we wanted something to sort of, I moved out here with a bunch of my friends from college. A bunch of my production partners from college. And we wanted something to sort of encapsulate all of the stuff that we were going to make. Cause we figured if we all started releasing little short films here and there all over the internet, and they just all popped up in different places, we'd all be in each other's stuff and we'd all work on everybody's stuff. But if it was in different places, it would kind of be hard to track. And we couldn't really share the rewards. So we wanted to gather everything into one place. and kind of hit it as like a team effort and share the success if we were lucky enough to receive any. And so we were sort of starting a YouTube channel, like production company thing, and we needed shows because we wanted to do narrative web shows.
Sure.
And I knew Wyatt is a writing creative machine. So I was like, hey, man, what do you got?
I need an idea immediately.
And that's like pretty much how the phone call went.
What do you have in the hat? Yeah.
Yeah.
What
He's like,
do
he
you have?
basically just calls like, what do you got? And I was like, the only thing that came to mind that could be like a series, because that's what he said he wanted. I was like, maybe this thing, The Inventor, and I told him about it. And the pitch is simple. It's just three roommates living together, like a real workaholics dude bro type show. But one of them is a mad scientist, and that's the catch right there. And he's not as good at inventing as he thinks he is, but he's also a genius. So
Well, I'm gonna bring this in.
Hold on, the hottest garage in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you set up here. This plays right into it. So what? This is filmed in LA. How long ago or is this all kind of over a period of time?
We filmed this season over the summer in Los Angeles, just this last summer.
Here, I'm gonna let this play, and you guys feel free. You don't have to, but as we go.
Yeah.
Hey. All right, stop.
Tyler's favorite helmet that fits his head perfectly.
So mad.
See,
our prop master made that helmet, not knowing the size of Tyler's head. I just told him to guess.
So he went with child.
Child?
I don't know about this.
He went with underdeveloped child, I think, was the size of the helmet that he got.
Just stop. Let's do the short version. Okay.
All the garage decorating stuff done by our amazing art director and art production artist.
Why are you sending robots to murder?
You do have a lot of props.
I don't know about
murderers. We can talk about
There's a good amount
that
of props.
but I made him to wash dishes.
Yeah, they came from all over too, which is the cool part. We had a really, really, really great team on this show. So many great artists helping us.
Seriously, I think the last like 5
stuff.
props were made by 5 different people, I think.
How many people are working on this? Like a dozen?
I would say overall total
you're at work, that would be fantastic.
maybe 10
If
different
I were to
people
do that, I
who are
would
working on
literally
it
vomit myself to death.
You notice the helmet?
both remotely and also on set. Oh, that's our producer Aaron Moreno hissing.
How is this dude so bad at spying, but so good at murder?
That was an improv bit that he did, and that worked out real well.
Tyler, are you directing all of these?
Wyatt's the director.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you see Miller leave my room?
Oh yeah, I just thought you guys were.
He produces and he adds all of the comedy.
The guy who does this stuff is usually pretty
My
good.
cameo as a scientist.
He's not. So he does mess up a lot. But he.
Are these local actors or kind of like friends? Like you said, it's all.
Yeah, they're either friends, local actors, or if we show up to a park and no one shows up, I play the scientist.
Yeah.
We could probably do a whole fucking. Oops, sorry.
That's fine.
A whole TED talk. A whole TED talk on guerrilla filmmaking.
Oh yeah, that's our.
Well, you mean like you're not pulling permits for every place you're running?
Fun fact: you don't actually have to if the crew's small enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made sure that
like if I go
was in some kind of loophole. We did our work, our homework.
It's like whenever I go droning, I just try to like not tell anybody I'm going. Just
Yeah.
I'm not out here. Nobody knows I'm here doing it.
And now,
if it's just like 3 of you, you're just a bunch of friends making a home video.
Yeah, it's like we're just chilling. We're testing out our new toys. So, but I mean, in all honesty, like the production value on that is fantastic. It's
thank you.
Thank you.
What are you guys? Talk me then through. You make the pilot, I guess, so to speak. How does it turn into a web series? And then talk about. I'm going to bring share screen maybe as you talk, but how does this get into SparkkTV Fantasy Network? Walk me through that. What happens after you make the pilot?
It gets wild from there because we just made it, like I said, for fun, and also we had cut our teeth on like not genre-based things, so we really were just swinging for it. And we made the short film, the first one, and we were already starting to think, okay, how can we stretch it out and take the characters to new places and stuff? We were just worrying about that, and then I'm submitting it to places trying to see who's gonna pick it up, right? Or not really pick it up, but like, could we get this into a festival? Because that's what you do with your short film, And no, you know what? I remember how it happened. So we get I get a text from a friend of mine who I met in college, and he listens to a podcast called Forget the Box. And Forget the Box is I didn't know this, is a podcast run by some people who run a company called Stareable. It's literally run by like the CEO and CFO of that company. And I put our pilot up on Stareable just so that that used to be, it's not anymore, but it used to be like a web series hosting site where you can just go and anyone can post their web series, and then you can go on there and check it out. And it's just for web series. And they do a podcast where they talk about their favorite stuff from the show, and we got reviewed on there. I had no idea, and it had been out for a while. And my friend texted it to me and said, "Hey, I listened to this podcast, and they're talking about you." And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Yeah, I was like,
"I hope it's good." Like, did they say they liked it? Or
oh yeah, and I remember the exact sentence where the guy so he reviewed the show. He talked about how much he liked it, and then he just said, "If Wyatt Moore is listening, can you please make some more of this? Because there's not enough. Because there was only 2 episodes out." And I was like, "I guess we're making more." And so I just
you're like, "Damn it! I only had 1 episode worth of ideas."
Yeah.
Now
that was my initial reaction. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, I only thought of the one invention. I don't know how much more clever I can be. So let's see what happens.
So you get some good response. Where does that lead you to say, "Hey, let's start kind of doing some of these"? And then how do you do it? Because I mean, you guys have to make money. You know what I mean? You have to live. Like, how do you fit this into your free time? Like, what are you doing when you're putting these together? It's got to be a sacrifice.
Yeah. For season 1, we kind of lucked out. I worked like sort of a freelance type gig as my job, so I could kind of get off whenever I needed to. And Wyatt pulled a a big faith move and straight up just
it worked out.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely. But he just left. He quit his job and lived off his savings so we could make stuff together.
Wild.
And
that's what a risk, I mean, I know it's easy to say, but holy crap, when you actually think about doing it.
Yeah, well, the thing about it too is I felt a little safe because I had a few production gigs kind of lined up, here, not a lot, but enough where I was like, this will be okay for a while until I figure myself out. And then I actually went to the Long Beach Community Action Partnership because they were looking for a film instructor. And I was like, it was only a couple days a week. I could fit it in easily with my schedule. And that laid the groundwork for me writing the curriculum and thinking I could do more with this. And that's why I work where I work now. So it actually, the Inventor and that whole time period was really important for where I ended up going. So that's actually, I didn't think about that either. It was a very eye-opening interview for me.
We should take notes. It's a good script. But so do you then, because you had mentioned when we were chatting, how you had gotten it to, and explain the Fantasy Network and SparkkTV, what are these channels or mediums maybe for people who aren't familiar?
Well, I could tee up how we met the people at Fantasy Network, and then Tyler can talk about that because I was hands off for that one. So we get reviewed on Forget the Box, and then we're like, well, let's see what else we can do. The festival that we decided to go to is in New York City. It's run by Stareable because we're like, well, they like us already. Why not give it a shot? And so we traveled to New York to go for the festival, and they have like a lot of festivals do these networking things and whatnot. And that's where Tyler met Ben, the CEO of the Fantasy Network.
Mm-hmm. We were doing a speed round robin speed dating thing for networking.
Sure.
It was really funny because we get there and we're all like, "Oh, we don't know all this stuff. We don't need to go to any of these events, any of this networking stuff." Why we thought that, I will never know. But that was maybe because it was 130 degrees in New York while we were in the festival. And we were really
I just associate making this show at all times with extreme heat. That's just
it seems that way. But anyway, I'm doing this round robin speed dating thing, and Ben and I line up and we start talking, and he was like, "So what are you doing here? What brings you to the festival?" And I start explaining the show, and he goes, "That sounds exactly like something we would want on our service. Can we do lunch?" And I'm trying to keep it together because what?
The only thing
Right.
I hear
Right.
about it is Tyler comes up to me and was like, "Hey, we're getting lunch with the CEO of this streaming service," and I was like, "Yeah, all right, how funny." And,
What is is a fantasy network like a Netflix for fantasy, that type of
Mhm.
genre, right? Is that what
Yeah, it's
Yep.
it's a streaming service wholly dedicated to sci-fi and fantasy content of an independent nature. It's a beautiful place. It really, really, really is.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of people who really, really care about the stories that they're telling, and it's a network for them to share those stories, and that's why we're very, very lucky to have met these guys.
yeah, absolutely.
So what, you go
Um,
get lunch, like hopefully somewhere with air conditioning, and then
I drank like
Like what?
3 iced teas vigorously.
so like it's always interesting, like how do these things kind of matriculate to actually turn into a deal? Like do you gotta get information from each other and check back? And
Mhm.
Yeah, it
So
really just
we were
felt like
talking.
a very
Yeah.
casual conversation where
Mhm.
we kind of just got to know each other. I felt like it was, in hindsight, it was probably more like an interview of sorts where he was just wondering, do I want to, associate with these guys?
yeah. Let's see.
And we reached out to him like a while after the festival because we had exchanged information and he was excited. And that's the thing is we go on the Fantasy Network and we share it out to people and tell them to start watching it and they get excited about it. And that's what leads us to a season 2, just enough people talking to us about, can you do more? And we thought we do want to do more, but if we do, we're not going to just see what happens and go in with like a $1 budget per episode. Like, let's see what we could really, let's see how much can we squeeze this stone until it's completely dry.
Well, because at some point, like it's like a labor of love, but then if you're like, hey, we have this opportunity, I want to make sure I'm putting out a really good thing and not just throwing it together. And I'm sure you have to massage that as a good balance, I would imagine.
Yeah, Ben and the people at the Fantasy Network were actually huge resources for that. Because we have some experience crowdfunding, but typically before meeting Ben and that whole team, our crowdfunding campaigns were just ways for our grandparents to pay for our short films.
Exactly.
And there's always going to be that.
Right.
There's always going to be that aspect of what we do. But meeting Ben and some of the other people we just kind of met along the way, we were able to
they essentially walked us through a lot of the
things
that you don't think about when you first start doing it, which I definitely didn't think about in terms of not only how to get the word out there, but also how to frame it so that it's your intentions are clear and all that stuff. But they're very good at crowdfunding. A lot of their projects on the Fantasy Network are crowdfunded, so they have meetings with creators who need some help, basically us, because we were still young, and walked us through and other creators through how to get the ball rolling, and they were good enough at it to where the project hit its funding goal in like 2 days of being up on Kickstarter, and
which was
yours
crazy.
Yeah.
I was at work. And
Oh
Wyatt
wow,
calls
okay,
me.
I didn't know that.
Yep. We put up season 2 because we had a Patreon going where we were releasing like behind the scenes stuff and whatnot, and once we launched the Kickstarter, we're like, all right, we should only need like $3,000 more, and that was to fill it. We already had all the other stuff kind of accounted for, and that's a whole other story on how we got all this stuff together with very little funding to begin with, like all the resources. But we only needed $3,000 more to bridge the gap, and in 2 days we hit $3,000, and we were like, we did not see that coming at all, and so we didn't understand stretch goals or any of that stuff. So
we didn't really have a plan for all that.
We
didn't really. Yeah. I don't even think we really expected to fully hit our goal. We thought we'd get close.
Yeah.
But we didn't expect nearly the response that we got, and then we had to like.
Well, okay, but it happens fast too, right? You get it. It's like, oh, hey guys, now you have to start doing it tomorrow. Like
now, as soon as it happens, you're like, oh, and I'll say it totally ended up taking over my life, because once you have like the ball rolling and obviously there's an interest for it, not just from us. Like there were people who we didn't know who just saw it on Kickstarter or who were just indie filmmakers who were like, that's fine. And that's how we met actually the producer, Mike Federale, the guy who we've actually been talking to him about working on other projects, post Inventor and stuff like that. He's a great guy. We were already funded, and he sent us an email saying, hey, could I give you guys like a lot more, because there's a producer level that you can put in. And ended up being a really awesome producer in terms, even after because he was not there for the filming of it, But basically, a lot more people came out just through the Kickstarter campaign, including Mike.
Does the streaming aspect of all this stuff now change the game even from 10 years ago? Like, in terms of young filmmaker, it seems like you might now have more opportunities. I'm not saying it's easy, but you might have more opportunities where if there wasn't a streaming service back then, I'm sure like 15, 20 years ago, you had to, I don't know, make your own DVD and somebody would watch it. Like, it just seems like having hey, there's a fantasy streaming network. Okay, I know there's horror movie streaming networks. You know, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense to have content on there. It just seems like there's opportunities there. That must be exciting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely easier to get eyes on your stuff now than ever before. And that's definitely been a boon to when we're active. And we try to take advantage of it as much as we can. It's really important. Eyes are just eyes, right? Like you need views. It doesn't really matter. It's not really super important where they come from most of the time. It's just getting your stuff out there is what's most important, especially when you're starting. And I have
just a naive idea that we have to get all our views just on YouTube. So don't put it anywhere else. Don't put it here, or there.
Right.
And I think these days it's just important to make it available everywhere.
I mean, even right now, like we're streaming, and a lot of this is like a work in progress. But we're on like 4 different platforms right now, just because it's like, why not? And then you have this content after the fact as well. So
absolutely
makes a lot of sense. How also with filmmaking itself, I would imagine being a 18-year-old now going into film school has got to be light years different than it was 10 years ago, and especially 15 years ago. Because now, I mean, we all know that there's been films filmed on cell phones, and how does that kind of change? Like, do you feel like a grumpy old man already because of all the new stuff, or is it exciting to have technology like that available? Like, what are your thoughts on?
I don't want to speak for Wyatt, but
both of you,
it's cool for me because it's like the resolution doesn't matter as much anymore, because every iPhone can shoot, like the new iPhone can shoot in 4K with the right app, just like most cameras can shoot in 4K. So it's like that isn't as much of a draw as it was even 5 years ago. The ease of like good audio equipment. I mean, the best audio equipment is still way expensive, but good passable stuff is super accessible. So it feels more and more like the focus is becoming more and more on whether or not people just like what you're doing.
If you're good, like everyone can pick up a paintbrush, right? It doesn't. Not everybody can use it effectively.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. It evens the playing field now more than ever, because if we all have the same 4K resolution phones or cameras in our pockets, then it really is just about, are you telling a good story and are you doing it in an engaging way? And that's it. That's all there is to it.
Do you like the TikTok type social media? I mean, when you look at stuff like that, is it interesting to you? Because there's some TikToks that are telling stories and are very creative, and you're like, you could tell that this person, like, I want to follow them, and then the other half is just narcissism.
I'm still learning about like vertical video and all that. I just learned how to edit on there a little bit, because at this point you kind of have to for almost everything now. It's something I didn't expect, and like I said, I'm still trying to learn it. Like when I was in college, I had like my nose to the grindstone with like I was either at school or at work, and so a lot of stuff like developed way past my understanding. So I'm like catching up on all of it. A lot of my students use it and whatnot. I think there is definitely a future in more vertical content and that becoming more of a thing, and a lot shorter stuff. I don't know if scripted or narrative content like ours is gonna exist in the way that it does right now on that kind of platform. Like the content itself is going to have to change to match that style or how that works.
Yeah,
I think when you open your phone, you're not looking for the Inventor on TikTok. It just doesn't.
I agree. Yeah,
at least now it doesn't line up.
You're in there for the quick hitters.
Exactly.
But that's why it's nice to have the fantasy network. It's like I'm going for content that I don't have to go through Netflix and find a million genres. Like this is the genre I want.
Exactly.
Good. So How does the series then work? I mean, can you talk about the overall? We can watch everything. How many total episodes are there? I'll bring up the.
Oh, good question. So the first season, we just kind of kept making more of them. Like I said, for about $1 an episode for as long as we could until I ended up basically moving. And then when the second season came along, that one was every episode was scripted out well ahead of. It was basically a whole other experience. It was like we scripted the whole thing out ahead of time. It has an overarching story, but each episode can, for the most part, be enjoyed on its own as well. On our YouTube, we just made a new playlist that's for standalone episodes. That there's like 4 of them in there. That is truly, at least in my opinion, you can watch these in any order and it won't matter. So there we go. Where is it? Standalone ep. Yep. So that would be, at least to me, the first episode of season 1, the second episode of season 1, and then the first and second episode of season 2 are kind of just, you can watch. It's basically just like an episode of a sitcom where you can watch it in one sitting.
Goes back to lessons learned. Season 1, we were chasing the release date every single time. Every single episode would release like a week later than we wanted it to, and was a scramble fest, and we were all stressed out. So second season rolls around, we're like, we're not posting anything until we're ready. So it was like a good 2
don't
years
promise
of
people.
development.
Yeah, exactly. We were able to like not only map out the whole season and script it that way and everything, but we had a release date calendar for each one, like
there you go,
like months ahead of time, so we knew. And you can really make sure that it's perfect. And we go through rounds of notes and stuff too.
Where are we at now? Why I know we talked about this before we started, but you're in Milwaukee. You work with local schools there. You teach film, which is awesome. And Tyler, we said you're in California. Are you going to be making new episodes, or what's the plan now? Like, what are you guys looking to do?
That's always the tough question with the Inventor, because it's something that we never intended to be doing for more than just like a weekend one time. So it's like it basically we're willing to make it as long as there's like a desire for it to be made, because we do like making it. However, with both seasons, because I'm in Milwaukee and he's in LA, and we both have like full-time jobs and whatnot. It gets harder to do, but and it can be super stressful, especially with the zero budget situation where we have, like we said, props getting flown in from everywhere and people coming to help just because
people doing you favors and
we have so many favors and like handshake deals to get it made.
After a while,
and overnight shoots, which that's my favorite story, is Tyler's experience. That's his least favorite story of our overnight shoot. And like,
what's that? Now you got to tell us. We can get one good story in here.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you up till my story ends and Tyler's begins at that night. So shout out to Darkside Games, who let us film in there for free. My brother manages that store, and he's also Miller in the show. He talked to his bosses because they had a big like open floor plan in this. It's a Magic the Gathering game shop that they manage and own. And it was easy for us to push the tables out of the way and just use it as like a studio. We're like, oh, we just saved thousands of dollars not having to rent a studio. We just have to film it between the hours of like 10 p.m. and like, exactly. Yeah. So we go to our first overnight shoot. We had built set walls to bring in and hang up with the sandbags and everything so that it could, look like the room. It was supposed to be a county records office that they're breaking into. And we show up at closing time, even a little bit earlier. So like customers are leaving, we're walking in these set walls and being obnoxious, and we're moving the tables out of the way. We're setting them up. We're getting everything ready to go. And we get the kit. We do the first setup. We get the lights ready to go. Everything. We prepped all the actors. So we had an actor from the area who was there. We had 2 actors from the area that were there. Miles was there in costume, ready to go. And Tyler's not there yet, and we're all sweating because we only have all of the accoutrement, the set walls, the truck, the people there for that one night. And we were supposed to start rolling by midnight. And Tyler and I are texting back and forth because he's having some problems. I'll let him take it from here because he tells it way better than I do.
So my car had survived 2 cross-country road trips the holiday season of 2020. And on my way back, it started to do this really fun thing where it would like growl at me for no reason. I took it to like the shops so many times, and they were like, "We don't We changed
take
the
it to a
oil.
church,
Everything
get a
seems
priest.
okay. Yeah,
Do an
exactly.
exorcism on it. There you
You
go.
need an exorcist. Call your priest. But it was fine. I was like, there's a engine light that's red and blinks at me. Is that a problem? They're like, nah, you're fine. It's like, okay, cool. I'm driving. I've drove it to work every day that week. And no problems whatsoever. I get in with my girlfriend, who was one of our lovely friends who volunteered their time to help on the show. And we get about 5 minutes away from our 5 miles, away from our house.
Mhm.
And it just stops. It just does the like
No growl,
choking,
no
grumble,
whimper, just
cough
like,
of
yeah.
death. Yeah.
It's
So I'm stuck on the side of the road with a car that's smoking.
And he has
at-
half the gear in his car, by the way.
I have
Half
half
the
the gear in my car.
Yep. So we're missing we're missing a few
Do
costumes.
like a-
We're missing half the lights. We don't have the tripod, I think is what we did.
Get like an Uber XL, right? And just
Well, I called a tow truck.
That's what I
Yeah,
that's what I
We
would
called a tow truck. And the first one was like, sure, I'll be there in 2 hours. And we were like, I'm sorry.
yeah.
And
Well,
he
yeah.
was like, 2 hours. So 2 hours later, he canceled. And then we called and we were like, I need a new tow truck like now. So
Like
whoever you
2
pick
hours.
needs to come right here.
Meanwhile,
did,
at a set,
thankfully.
we're scrambling around trying to get any shot that doesn't have Tyler in it, and there aren't many.
At least you're
Long-
thinking outside the
Yeah.
box. I like that. You're continuing to move.
Yep, we're
Long,
trying.
horrible story short, we finally get back to my apartment because they wouldn't tell us to set. They had to, because it was way too far away. So we get back to our apartment and we call the Uber XL that we're going to need to take. But at this point, it's like 2:30 in the morning. So that takes another hour and a half. And then it's like a 30-minute ride to get to set. All in all, my girlfriend and I were just waiting outside of our apartment with all this camera equipment and lighting gear and all this stuff until like 3:30 in the morning.
5 Ubers canceled. They
Mhm.
were almost
5.
there and then canceled. And I'm not
Mhm.
making that number up because he was
Yeah.
doing it and I was using my
You must
phone
have. Do you have like
to
a
send it.
low Uber rider score?
It happened to me too. I mean,
this
listen,
guy,
we
he's
both
got
do
like
it.
he's bringing lighting equipment.
I just
So
No
we
way.
ended up using the part of the production's budget to get like the Uber luxury because I figured they won't cancel and they didn't. But it ended
Yeah.
up being like $300 just to get him and all the equipment there. That's just there, not to get him home. We didn't start filming until like 4 a.m.
And then you have to film.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
till like
and-
9 o'clock the next morning, like that morning.
Right. And that's
So it
like
was
the
like
part
a-
of it that's,
Yeah.
Because we had to
Then I think-
get everything out and put the store completely back the way we found it before they opened the
Right.
next day.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that was a fun night. But hey, we did it. We pulled it off. We only had to add a
Somehow.
couple pickups. Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow. Oh boy.
Which is what. So I mean, you guys, I would just imagine, wherever this leads, you're gonna continue then to at least do something. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I know that you can't say with it, like, who knows where this continues to go if you make more
Yeah.
of them, but you're going to continue to at least.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to
Mhm.
plug? By all means.
Well, we have one more episode coming out this
Okay.
Friday. That'll be out on the Fantasy Network. So they're not going to be out on YouTube right away. They're going to show up on the Fantasy Network first. So if you want to see it before everyone else, you got to go there.
Mhm.
And our first season is now airing on SparkkTV every week. So up on Monday, episode 3 of season 1 is airing on SparkkTV. So you can catch that.
Is
there.
SparkkTV is similar? I don't know if I'm.
It's
familiar.
similar. So they treat it like television.
Okay, so it's like
but
live.
it's just for independent content. Yeah. We
$5
submitted to
a
them.
month, that's
season 2.
nothing.
Yeah,
God.
exactly. Yep.
You spend more of that on Spotify. You don't
Yeah.
listen to it.
And so you'll see you'll see the finale, and episode 6 is also exclusive to there right now as well. So
Awesome.
there you go.
Well, guys,
Mhm.
this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad that we were able to connect, and it's always great to see guys or see anybody from the area doing great things wherever they are. And we're gonna start diving in and watching tonight. I've
Awesome.
watched you a few. I mean, we just started talking, so we watched you a few.
Yeah.
This is right up our alley, so we're gonna dive in.
There you go. Well, thanks for having us. I had a great
Yeah.
time.
This
So-
was fun.
Yeah, no, I
This was really fun.
I appreciate it. We'll come back anytime, guys. I dropped
Yeah.
everything in the notes, in the comments. I dropped all the links. If you guys want to check it out, you can check our show notes later. I want to thank our sponsors. Quick, I've been running this all day. Arts Quest. Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Club, and Michael Bernadin with Remax Realty. Really appreciate them for continuing to support us. We have some more fun partners coming in this year. We're excited. It allows us to do shows like this. This is fun. I'm so glad. Like we met each other, and now who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I had a great time just getting to know you. So
I appreciate
don't lose touch. Yeah,
and thank you to everybody who watched. We appreciate it. Be sure that you guys check out the Inventor and Wyatt and Tyler from across the United States, from the Lehigh Valley. We appreciate you and thank you.
We appreciate the Lehigh
Thanks for
Valley.
having us.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you very
we
much.
appreciate the Valley.
All right, hey, stay tuned. We're gonna end it. Everybody, thank you for watching. You guys hang out for a second.